So what if the biggest obstacle keeping you from, taking charge of your child's education or even just learning a massive new skill yourself isn't a lack of money or a lack of expertise?
Right.
What if the real barrier is just a fundamental misunderstanding of how a clock actually works? Welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
We are jumping right into a feeling that, well, you are almost certainly carrying with you today. Like if you are a busy parent, professional, or just an adult trying to keep your head above water, you look at your calendar and see this solid, impenetrable wall of obligations. You just think, I don't have a single spare moment in my day.
Oh, it is an incredibly heavy feeling.
Yeah.
Completely universal.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the 24 hours you're given and you subtract all the absolute non-negotiable sleep, commuting, your job, making meals, household stuff,
Yeah.
the math just doesn't add up.
It really doesn't.
The tank is empty before you even begin. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's completely understandable why that feeling acts like a psychological brick wall when it comes to adding anything new.
Exactly. And today we're unpacking a framework designed to completely shatter that brick wall. We're looking at a fascinating lesson script designed for homeschooling parents. It's called Find Your Time Windows.
Which is a great title, honestly.
It is. And just to be clear right up front, our mission for this deep dive isn't to endorse a specific lifestyle or say this is the only way to do things. We just want to impartially analyze this philosophy. We want to explore this wild claim that education does not require a massive, unbroken block of time.
Right, which is what we all assume it takes.
Exactly. And we're going to help you discover the hidden 3 to 5 time windows that are actually already existing in your daily routine.
Which, I mean, that represents a complete paradigm shift in how we view scheduling and human capacity.
For sure.
The framework completely moves away from bolting a heavy, rigid new obligation onto your day. Instead, it proposes this really analytical look at how learning can organically flow into these microscopic spaces you already have.
Yeah, okay, let's unpack this. Because the core problem they identify is this huge subconscious assumption we all make. Like, when parents first think about educating their kids at home, they immediately picture a traditional school day.
Right, the giant block of time.
Exactly. They picture 6 or 7 hours straight, bells ringing, kids sitting perfectly still at desks. And because you obviously can't find a giant, empty 7-hour void in your busy life, you just assume homeschooling is totally impossible.
Yeah, that assumption is deeply rooted in replication. People think, if I can't perfectly replicate the institutional environment in my living room, I'm going to fail. It's a very paralyzing all-or-nothing mindset.
Totally. I was actually trying to think of the best way to visualize this. It's like we treat our time like a giant solid block of ice, right? And we're trying to shove this massive block of ice into a freezer that is already crammed full of frozen peas, leftover Tupperware, and work deadlines.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Thanks. There's physically no room for the solid block. But what the source suggests is that we need to crush that ice. It's about finding small windows like 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, and just letting them fill in the gaps that already exist around the frozen peas.
That is brilliant. You're crushing the ice to fit the actual container of your life rather than, demanding your life change shapes.
Right.
And to make this crushed ice method work, the source outlines a scheduling rule that basically flips traditional education completely upside down.
Oh, yeah, the rule about the parents.
Yes. The rule is that you must design the learning schedule around the adult schedule, not the child's.
Which sounds completely backward. We're so conditioned to think the child's schedule comes first.
It does sound counterintuitive, but the logic is really solid. I mean, think about it. Your child essentially has one job to learn. Their schedule is inherently flexible.
Right.
But your schedule,
Yeah.
as the adult,
Oh, it's a mess.
right, it is deeply complex. You have to work, commute, pay bills, make meals. Because the adult's schedule is the structural, load-bearing wall of the house. You have to build around it.
That makes a lot of sense.
The child's learning just fills the gaps in your complex day. And what's fascinating here is the sheer psychological relief this provides.
Oh, I bet.
It removes all the guilt of not perfectly mimicking a school environment. It empowers single parents, shift workers, people who work outside the home. Because, scientifically, 10 focused minutes at 6:30 a.m. is exactly the same as 10 focused minutes at 6:30 p.m. The brain doesn't care about the clock.
Wow. Yeah, if you're a single parent and can only find 3 10-minute blocks, that's 30 minutes of highly focused one-on-one instruction.
Exactly.
Which is probably more direct eye contact than a kid gets all day in a classroom of 30 students.
Absolutely. The life dictates the windows and the learning just fills them.
So I eagerly want to dive into the real-life example the source gives to show what this actually looks like. They follow this family, Lori and Eric, and their 3 kids.
Yes, the Tuesday morning breakdown.
Right. So 7 a.m., they wake up, work out. Then at 8:30 a.m., they do a family reading of this book, The Daily Stoic. It takes maybe 30 to 45 minutes of reading, discussing, and, critical thinking over breakfast.
And we really should pause here because this is crucial.
Oh, totally. Most people wouldn't even call that school, right? It just looks like talking over eggs. But the source points out this counts as a really powerful window of organic learning.
It's the perfect example of a time window hiding in plain sight.
Mm.
Discussing philosophy over breakfast requires massive executive function.
Yeah.
Defending thoughts, listening to opposing viewpoints. That is essential educational development, completely untethered from a desk.
Yeah, no worksheets in sight.
Right. And then, around 10:00 a.m., they move into what the source calls structured brain food.
The actual sit-down work.
Exactly. And the breakdown here is fascinating because it highlights the diverse needs of the 3 kids. So you have Kaylee, the oldest. She's independent, powers through, finishes in an hour.
Must be nice.
Right. But then you have Tyler. She takes 2 hours because he's naturally a slower worker. And Thurs stresses that this is fine. No penalty for his pace.
Makes sense.
And then Jackson, the youngest, he works in 20-minute blocks. And sometimes he just hits a wall after 10 minutes.
Yeah, and here's where it gets really interesting to me. They don't force him to sit there and cry for another 50 minutes just to satisfy the clock.
No, they don't.
He hits a wall, he goes and plays, takes a break, and comes back. But despite 3 entirely different kids with 3 entirely different paces, all the structured learning is completely done by noon.
It's incredible.
The whole afternoon is left open for actual living. Baseball, gymnastics, projects.
By optimizing those small windows, they reclaim their entire day.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate for the listener here.
All right.
Because I can hear someone saying, sure, that sounds amazing for a perfect Tuesday, but what happens when life gets messy? What if I have to run errands or take a kid to the dentist?
That is a very fair point.
Like, it sounds great until the water heater breaks.
Right. And the source actually validates this completely. They explore a truly messy week to show the reality, because the rigid schedule is exactly what they're trying to avoid.
So what does the messy week look like?
Well, let's look at the schedule variability. Tuesdays, Jackson has speech therapy at 10:00 a.m. It's a 30-minute session, but it's cognitively exhausting for him, so he needs a longer break after.
Okay, so the brain food block gets ruined.
No, it simply shifts to later. The world doesn't end.
The crushed ice refreezes somewhere else.
Exactly. Then on Wednesdays, there's vision therapy, and the parents do a strategic morning run to Costco. Because it's the least busy day, the brain food just happens after they get back.
Oh, I love the Costco hack.
Right. And Thursdays are co-op day. There is 0 structured learning on Thursdays, and the authors emphasize that is perfectly fine.
Skipping the books for a whole day.
Yep. And Fridays are game day. Focused learning looks like playing board games.
Which teaches math, strategy, problem solving.
Exactly. It's deeply engaging cognitive work. And then they also talk about rental days. The parents manage a rental property, so if there's an emergency, errands happen in the morning, Kaylee works independently, and the boys just do their blocks in the afternoon.
Wow, so just completely adapts.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the schedule will shift. It has to. But the 15-minute windows still work because the goal isn't to recreate a rigid school environment. The goal is to fit learning into an actual unpredictable life.
Which brings us to a massive mental roadblock. Even when people hear this and go, okay, crushed ice, 15 minutes, I get it, there is still this barrier.
When to start barrier.
Yes. You think, I'll definitely start doing this just as soon as things calm down at work.
Of the illusion of the perfect time.
Yeah, I'll start after the holidays. And the source shares a highly specific story to totally demolish this excuse.
It's a great story.
It really is. So Lori and Eric were supposed to start homeschooling in August 2020, but they were in the middle of 2 massive simultaneous rehabs. They were renovating a 10-unit apartment complex, and they were flipping a 5-bedroom house.
Oh, wow. At the same time.
At the exact same time. Just chaotic.
Yeah.
So August passes, September passes. They didn't start until October. And you know what? It still worked perfectly.
Well, of course it did.
The academic year didn't fall apart. They just had to start.
Well, human nature dictates that things will never actually calm down. We constantly trick ourselves. Next month will be quieter.
It never is.
No, there's no perfect time. There's just starting amidst the mess.
And there's an amazing kind of hidden side effect to this that the source mentions. Once you realize you only need these short 15-minute focused blocks, the fear of needing to buy a $1,200 box curriculum just vanishes.
That is such a vital point.
Because you aren't trying to fill 7 hours anymore.
Exactly. The system drives the learning, not the expensive supplies. Showing up for 15 minutes of focus is the teacher. That financial anxiety just disappears once the time anxiety is gone.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? How do you actually do this?
Well, the source provides a super practical exercise called the time proof.
Yes, and it's brilliant in its simplicity.
Walk us through it.
Step 1. Write down your real, messy daily schedule from wake to sleep. Not the ideal day, the real day, the commute, the time scrolling on your phone, everything.
Brutal honesty.
Brutal honesty. Step 2. Look at that list and circle every gap of 15 minutes or more.
Just literally draw a circle around it.
Yep. And step 3, track them. That's it. If you find 2, that is enough to start. If you find 6, you have way more time than you need.
Wow. So here's your immediate action, your specific homework for tomorrow based on this deep dive. You're going to pick a single easiest time window you just found for that exercise, and you're going to do just one 20-minute focused block of learning.
Just one. Just one. Stop while it's going well. Don't build a whole master schedule yet. Just prove to yourself that you can start.
Because, to summarize everything, the time objection is really just a myth.
Yes.
The time to learn is already embedded in your day. You've always had it. You just needed to learn how to see the windows.
We've completely dismantled the idea of a rigid school schedule today. But I want to leave you with a final lingering thought. This is directly inspired by where the source goes next.
Oh, this is a good question.
Right. Think about this. If we strip away the traditional school hours and we strip away the $1,200 curriculums, how do you actually know someone is learning? If there are no tests, no grades, no teacher handing you a report card, how is progress measured? If education isn't about time or tests, what is it really? I want you to ponder that as you look at the crowded freezer of your life today. Keep crushing that ice. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.